previous lectures, and today also we'll be having a new lecture, and I think everybody is doing good, no issues. So if you have any doubt from the previous lecture, you can ask me either using Google Classroom, or you can call me, or we can even meet in Google Meet. So just let me know that if you are thorough with the topic that we have discussed in the previous class. So we have seen some of the properties of a fluid, like weight density, mass density, and specific gravity, and also we have seen a slight problems, numerical problems, how to do it using specific gravity and all. And in the later stage, today in this lecture, we'll be seeing about the Newton's law of viscosity that was proposed by Newton. And while always stating a law, always remember that the law might be stated after doing a lot of experiments. A lot of experiments has been done, and out of that experiments, the findings has been summarized to a law, and that is applicable throughout the world. Such a law is Newton's law of viscosity. We'll see how it's been derived, how it is being used, what's the formula used, and some other properties of fluids. So I hope it's okay. So always feel free to ask. Okay, fine. Thank you. So we'll quickly go into the video.
Since I've spoken about viscosity, now I cannot skip this topic called as Newton's law of viscosity. Always remember, whenever you are stating a law, it's a universal law, and that law will be proposed after doing some experiments. So in order to find this Newton's law of viscosity, also some experiments has been done. So what they have done is they have taken two flat plates. One was kept stationary. So since to show that it is stationary, I am showing this type of hatching. So this was kept stationary, and there is one more movable plate. So there are two plates, parallel plates. One is stationary, kept at one end, and the other one is free to move. And what they did was they filled this portion with some liquid, oil or whatever may be the liquid, I don't care. So I just filled the entire portion with liquid. So what happens if I move this, the liquid also will be moving along with that. So what happens, I'm moving this and just applying a force. So to have a motion, what you need to do is, to have a motion, you have to apply a force. So I'm applying a force called as F. So what happens, this will be moving with the velocity V. What is the velocity of this plate? Here the velocity is 0. Here it is having a velocity V. And what happens to the liquid here? Just assume that you have some liquid molecules here. I hope you can see. Always remember, the liquid molecules will be sticking to that surface. Wherever it is having contact, it will be sticking to the surface. So these molecules are sticking to this surface, and these molecules are sticking to that surface. So what happens? What is the velocity of this plate? 0. So what will be the velocity of these molecules also? These molecules also will be having the velocity same as that of the plate. So that will be at 0 velocity. Similarly, what will be the velocity of these particles? Same as that of the velocity of the topmost plate. So this molecules also will be having a velocity V. So that means here velocity is 0, here velocity is having a value V. Now if I draw the velocity distribution, so this along the height, this is the y-axis. Here the value of velocity is 0, velocity is equal to 0. And if I consider here, the velocity is nothing but V. That is, it is having a value V. So like this, the velocity is varying. Here velocity is 0, here velocity is V. So in between, the velocity will be varying like this. The velocity distribution will be like this. Velocity. It's a common logic, because here velocity is 0, here velocity is capital V. So we assume that it is varying linearly. Now this was the side view. If I show a kind of another view, what happens is you have a plate here which is at rest, and you have a similar plate here, and this is moving with the velocity V after the application of a force called as F. So since you have applied a force F, it is moving with the velocity V. This is kept at rest. This is how it is varying, and this distance between the two plates, let it be Y. Now the area of this plate is A. So just out of just your logic, just think, if you have a very large area, what will be the force required? Will it be high or low? If you have a very small plate with small area, you require less force to move this. Similarly, if you have a high area, what you can say, you need more force to move. So I can say that the force is directly proportional to area. Now, what happens to the velocity if you are applying more force? What happens to the velocity if you are applying more force? So if you are applying very high velocity, what happens? Sorry, high force, what happens? It will move with high velocity. And if you are applying very less force, what happens? The velocity will be less. So I can say that the force is directly proportional to velocity. Higher the force, higher the velocity. If the force is less, velocity will also be less. Okay, fine. Now we have to find how the force is related to y. So they conduct the experiments at different levels of y. That means initially they kept the plates like this at a particular distance y1. Then they started to increase the distance and they made it to y2. And they started to apply the force to move it with the same velocity. So it has to move with the same velocity. So making it move in the same velocity, in here they have applied a force of F1. Here they have to apply a force of F2. I hope it is clear. They took the same plates, parallel plates, but what happened is the fluid in between this was kept at a distance of y1. Here the fluid was at a gap of y2 being more than y1. Similarly, this was made to move with the same velocity v. So we applied some force and this moved with the velocity v. Similarly, you applied another force, this moved with the velocity v. What they found was when the distance increased from y1 to y2, when the distance increased, the required force decreased. I mean, y1 is less than y2. It means that y2 is high. The distance between that is more. Then what happened? F1 was more than F2. It means that when the distance increased, what happens to the force? Which is great. F1 is great. F2 is less. So F2 has reduced. So as the distance is getting increased from y1 to y2, the distance getting increased. So what happened? F1 to F2, F2 has decreased. So what can you say? Is it directly proportional or indirectly proportional? Distance is increasing but force is getting reduced. So I can say that the force is inversely proportional to y. Let this be first equation, second equation and third equation. So if I combine all these, this 1 by y, because it is inversely proportional. Force is inversely proportional to the distance, directly proportional to area, directly proportional to velocity and inversely proportional to y. If I combine, I can say that force is proportional to a v by y. So let that be the fourth equation. Now if that's the case, this was your velocity distribution. What I am doing is I am taking a small section here. This velocity, let it be small v. And this velocity is, see if I check, this much velocity from here to here it is v itself. So this is v and here small addition. So I can say that it is v plus dv. I repeat, at some arbitrary height, just arbitrary height I am writing y. Let this be capital Y, no issues. So let this be capital Y. Some arbitrary height from the bottom. Arbitrary means some, I don't know, some random height. Arbitrary height from bottom. The height is y, the velocity is v. Just above that you have a velocity v plus dv. Let this increase in height be dy. So it means that in a height y, the velocity is v. At a height y plus dy, the velocity is v plus dy. Is it okay? So now I am drawing the same thing here. This height, total height is capital Y. This is the velocity v, and I have considered here also. This is an arbitrary height y, and this is an arbitrary height y plus dy. Similarly, this is v, and this rest of the thing is, the total is v plus dv. Or rather I can say that if this is v, this much is also v. From here to here is also v. The rest, this much portion is dv. Is it okay? This portion is V and that rest of the portion is dV. Now we have got here V by Y. Now if you check, I'll just mark it with another pen. Let this be A, B, C, and let this point be A dash, this point be B dash, this point be C dash. So you've got A, B, C and A dash, B dash, C dash. These two triangles are similar triangles because this is similar because this side parallel, this side parallel, this side parallel. So it has to be similar triangle. So this side and this side, that is AB is parallel to A dash, B dash, BC is parallel to B dash, C dash, and AC and A dash, C dash are on the same line. So it has to be similar triangle. So I can say that V by Y is equal to, instead of V what we have this side. This side is from here to here, that is nothing but dV. Similarly you have Y. So corresponding to this Y you have this small thing and that is nothing but, see, this from here to here it is Y. From here to here it is Y plus dy, that is this small height is nothing but dy. So this is equal to dy. So V by Y is equal to dV by dy. So if I substitute this equation 5 in fourth equation, so I have to substitute fifth equation in fourth equation, you will be getting F is proportional to A into dV by dy. Now we always know that whenever you have a proportionality, to make to an equation, what you have to do, you have to use a constant of proportionality, and I am adding a constant of proportionality, that is nothing but mu into A into dou V by dou Y. This is nothing but, this is pronounced as mu, and this proportionality constant is called as coefficient of dynamic viscosity. So I repeat, this mu is called as coefficient of dynamic viscosity. So I'm just rewriting this equation here. F is equal to mu into A into dV by dy. I'm just taking this area to the side. So force by area. What is force by area? It is stress. We know force per unit area is stress. I hope you might have learned in your mechanics. So force by area is stress. Here see, you have a object like this and the force is acting along the plane, isn't it? Force is acting along the plane. So you might have learned, whenever you have a force along the plane, it is called as, that kind of stress is called as shear stress. So I'll show you an example. If you have a plane like this, it's a flat plane. So if a force is acting like this, just hold it and show. This is the plane, I hope you can see, and this is the plane, and it is acting perpendicular like this. That is perpendicular force. And right now the force is acting along the plane, through the plane. So that force is shear force, and that stress will be shear stress. So here this force is along the plane, so that force by area is nothing but shear stress. Shear stress is represented by a letter called as tau. This is called as tau. So tau is equal to, since we have taken it to that side, this mu into dou V by dou Y. So this is the equation, and this law is called as Newton's law of viscosity. So what does Newton's law of viscosity tells you? Newton's law of viscosity tells that the shear stress is equal to mu into dou U by dou Y. So as we have seen, the Newton's law of viscosity states that the shear stress is equal to mu into dou V by dou Y. So if you check your slides earlier, what happens is you have two parallel plates here, and the velocity, this is kept stationary, and this will be moving with the velocity capital V. So there's a velocity gradient. Velocity here it is 0, here velocity is V, so it is uniformly varying like this. So this is how your velocity is varying. Now what is this dV by dy? You always know that d by dy is a change of something. What is changing here? The velocity is changing. Y is nothing but this direction, y direction.
So v is velocity, y is this direction. So what can I say about dv by dy? dv by dy is nothing but the velocity gradient. It is called as the velocity gradient. Always remember, this term is called as velocity gradient. So tau is equal to mu into dou u by dou. I would say that you know the equation of a straight line, y is equal to mx plus c. I hope you know this equation. This is the equation of a straight line. So y axis, this is the x axis, and this is a straight line going like this, and this is c. C is called as the y-intercept. That means from where this line is starting. If you compare this with the equation, tau is equal to mu into dou u by dou y. So what happens? I can say that instead of y you have tau, instead of m you have mu, instead of x you have dou v by dou y, and instead of c you have 0. That means if I draw this, your shear stress in this direction and your velocity gradient in this direction, how the line will be going? It will be a straight line, and from where it will be starting? It will be starting from c. But here what happens? It is starting from 0. And what is this m called as? M is called as the slope. So what will be the slope here? The slope will be nothing, mu. The slope will be equal to mu. So according to Newton's law of viscosity, the shear stress is directly proportional to dou v by dou y. See, shear stress is directly proportional. If I change this constant of proportionality, it is directly proportional to dou v by dou y. So on basis of this, I can classify on the basis of Newton's law of viscosity, I can classify fluids as two: Newtonian fluids and non-Newtonian fluid. So as you can expect, the fluids which obey Newton's law of viscosity is called as Newtonian fluid, and the fluids which does not obey Newton's law of viscosity is non-Newtonian fluid. So Newtonian fluid, what happens is shear stress is directly proportional to velocity gradient. Here shear stress is not at all directly proportional to dou v by dou y. So that is the difference between Newtonian fluid and non-Newtonian fluid. Now I need to tell you about the unit of this viscosity, and this is called as coefficient of dynamic viscosity. I'll write the equation. Tau is equal to mu into dou v by dou y. So I need to find the unit of this. So I can rearrange. Mu is equal to tau divided by dou v by dou y. So this is the equation. So what is the equation for, formula for shear stress? It's stress only. Stress is nothing but force by area. So that will be Newton per meter square. And what about a change in velocity? That is one velocity minus other velocity. For example, 5 meter per second minus 2 meter per second. So what is that? It is meter per second itself. Meter per second divided by y is length. That is change in length. Change in length means 5 meters minus 2 meters, or 5 meters minus 4 meters. So it's a change in length. It is meter itself. So meter gets cancelled. So what will be the equation? It will be Newton second per meter square, because here it is by second. So when it goes to it can go to the numerator. So it is Newton second per meter square. So this is one formula for coefficient of dynamic viscosity. And what is Newton per meter square? Newton per meter square. Newton per meter square is nothing but Pascal. So it can also be called as Pascal second. So the SI unit for coefficient of dynamic viscosity, mu is called as dynamic viscosity coefficient. It can be either Newton second per meter square or Pascal second. This is the SI unit. Similarly, you have the CGS unit for mu. The CGS unit is called as poise. It's named after a scientist called as Poise, and 1 poise is equal to 0.1 Newton second per meter square. Always remember this. Sometimes in your numerical problems, they won't be giving you SI unit, they'll be given it in the CGS unit. It is represented by P. So P means 1 poise. 1 poise is equal to 0.1 Newton second per meter square. So we have discussed about the coefficient of dynamic viscosity. there is something else similar to coefficient of viscosity, and that is coefficient of kinematic viscosity. So we have already seen about mu, coefficient of dynamic viscosity. Now we have something called as nu. This is said as mu and this is read as nu. So mu and nu. Nu is the coefficient of kinematic viscosity. There's a relation, mu is equal to nu by rho. What is this rho? Rho is nothing but the mass density. I'm sorry for the disturbance. Rho is the mass density. So what will be the unit of mu? We know that this mu is Newton second per meter square divided by rho is nothing but mass density, that is kilogram per meter cube. Now what happens is that Newton is not in the basic term. Newton is nothing but force, isn't it? Force. We know that force, how to write the equation, force can be mass, can be anything. So it is Newton. So force is nothing mass into acceleration. Is force is Newton is the unit of force. The equation for force is mass into acceleration. The unit of force is Newton. Unit of mass is kilogram. Unit of acceleration is meter per second square. So nothing. So I can say that Newton is nothing but kilogram meter per second square. So if I substitute it there, instead of Newton I can write kilogram meter per second square. Then you have the second here. Then you have meter square here. Then in the denominator you have kilogram. In denominator you have a division, so that goes to the top into meter cube. Kilogram gets cancelled. Meter square, this becomes meter, this becomes second. So that will be meter square per second. So this is the SI unit for coefficient of kinematic viscosity. So the SI unit for coefficient of kinematic viscosity is meter square per second. Similarly, the CGS unit of mu is Stokes, and 1 stock is equal to 10 raised to minus 4 meter square per second. So this also you have to keep in mind. Next is a very important topic, shear stress versus velocity gradient graph. This velocity gradient is also called as a rate of change of angular deformation. So sometimes instead of using velocity gradient, they'll be saying rate of change of angular deformation. So we have seen that shear stress versus dou v by dou y graph for Newtonian fluid, it will be a straight line. So this is for the case of Newtonian fluid. And we know that the equation for Newton's law of viscosity is mu into dou v by dou y. Now just consider the case of an ideal fluid. What does an ideal fluid means? Ideal fluid is the case in which there is no viscosity. If there is no viscosity, what will be the coefficient of dynamic viscosity? For ideal fluid, it will be equal to 0 for ideal fluid. If that is equal to 0, what is the value for shear stress? Shear stress will be 0. Whatever is the value for dou v by dou y. Dou v by dou y can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, whatever it is. The value for tau will be always 0. So the tau, the value is always 0, but dou v by dou y is increasing. So what will be the graph? The graph will be nothing but it will be coinciding with the x-axis. So this is the graph for ideal fluid. And for non-Newtonian fluid, it will be varying in a different manner. It will be varying like this, it can be varying like this, so it can be, it's not at all linear. If it is straight line, it is Newtonian fluid. If it is having a curve, it is non-Newtonian fluid. So I'm just giving you a small assignment. What you have to do is you have to find how the shear stress versus velocity gradient will be varying for. First one, a thixotropic fluid, then a plastic fluid and an elastic solid. These two are fluid. So you need to find
I've given you all the materials. So what you have to do is you have to find how the stress and the velocity gradient varies in case of thixotropic fluid and plastic fluid, and also in case of elastic fluid. So this you have to find. Next property of fluid is compressibility and bulk modulus. Usually both will be talking together. So the bulk modulus K, the symbol for bulk modulus is K. The bulk modulus is given by change in pressure by volumetric strain. Just assume that you have a cylinder connected with a piston. This is a piston, you can move it. Just as the case of a syringe or something like, or an engine cylinder. You have a cylinder and you have a piston that can be movable. And this was the initial volume of the gas. This is the initial volume V. Let it be V itself, no issues. That is the initial volume. So I have to reduce the volume. So what I have to do, I have to apply some pressure here. So the pressure that I am applying is P. I am applying a pressure of P. So since I am applying P, what happens? This will come towards the interior. So what happens? It gets compressed. So when it gets compressed, what happens? The volume increase or decrease? It has to decrease. So this is the new position of the piston. So what happens? It has moved up to this position. So what happens? The new volume, let that be V dash. So what is the change in volume? Change in volume. The change in volume is nothing but V minus V dash. So always remember volumetric strain. Volumetric strain means change in volume by initial volume. So that is what meant by volumetric strain. So I can write the change in volume is dV, the initial volume is V. And what's the change in pressure? Earlier I had no pressure. Right now I am applying a pressure of P. So the change in pressure is 0 minus P. That is, initial pressure was 0, the present pressure is P. So that is minus P. So the change in pressure is minus P. So the bulk modulus is minus dP by dV by V. So this is the equation for bulk modulus. So this is how you find the bulk modulus. And compressibility is nothing but the inverse of bulk modulus, 1 by K. So both are reciprocals, the inverse. If you know bulk modulus, you can find compressibility. If you know compressibility, you can find bulk modulus. So what will be the unit for compressibility? Change in pressure. Pressure means Newton per meter square. So 1 Newton per meter square minus 0.0 Newton per meter square. So that is Newton per meter square itself. So that is Newton per meter square divided by volumetric strain. Change in volume. Unit is 5 meter cube minus 3 meter cube divided by another meter cube. So both gets cancelled. There is no unit for strain. There is no unit here. So the unit for your bulk modulus is Newton per meter square itself. So the bulk modulus, the unit is Newton per meter square. The SI unit is Newton per meter square.